Hi, my name is Shinka. Welcome to my channel. We have been reading The Warriors Into the Wild by Erin Hunter. We are on chapter 10, in the middle of that, and Firepaw has been doing his punishment wonderfully, taking care of Yellowfang, and now Blue Star has ordered him to return to training. Now, before I get to reading, I have a very important announcement at the end of this video, so I encourage you to stick around. Let's get to it. Blue Star was right. Graypaw and Ravenpaw were both waiting for him by their favorite tree stump. Graypaw looked stiff and uncomfortable, his long fur clumped by the dampness of the air, and Ravenpaw was pacing around the tree stump, lost in thought, the white tip of his tail twitching. "So you're joining us today," Graypaw called as Firepaw approached. "Some day, huh?" He shook himself roughly to get rid of the clinging wetness. "Yes, Blue Star told me that Tiger Claw's going to assess us today. Are Sandpaw and Dustpaw coming too?" "White Storm and Darkstripe took them out in a warrior patrol. I suppose Tiger Claw's going to look at them later," Graypaw answered. "Come on, we should get going," urged Ravenpaw. He had stopped pacing and now hovered beside them anxiously. "Fine by me," meowed Graypaw. "Hopefully some exercise will warm me up for a bit." The three cats trotted through the gorse track and out of the camp. They hurried to the sandy hollow. Tiger Claw had not arrived, so they hung around in the shelter of a pine tree, their fur fluffed up against the chill. "Are you worried about the assessment?" Firepaw asked Ravenpaw as the young cat padded backwards and forward with quick, nervous paw steps. "There's no need to be. You're Tiger Claw's apprentice after all. When he reports back to Blue Star, he's gonna want to tell her how good you are." "You can never tell with Tiger Claw," mewed Ravenpaw, still pacing. "For goodness sake, sit down," Graypaw grumbled. "At this rate, you'll be worn out before we begin." By the time Tiger Claw arrived, the sky had changed. The clouds looked less like thick gray fur and more like the soft white balls of down that queens use to line the nests of their newborns. Blue skies couldn't be far behind, but the breeze that brought the softer clouds carried a fresh chill. Tiger Claw greeted them briskly and launched straight into the exercise details. "Lionheart and I have spent the last few weeks trying to teach you how to hunt decently," he mewed. "Today, you'll have a chance to show me how much you have learned. Each of you will take a different route and hunt as much prey as possible, and whatever you catch will be added to the supplies in the camp." The three apprentices looked at one another, nervous and excited. Firepaw felt his heart begin to beat faster at the prospect of a challenge. "Ravenpaw, you will follow the trail beyond the great sycamore as far as Snake Rocks. That should be easy enough for your pitiful skills. You, Graypaw," Tiger Claw continued, "will take the route along the stream as far as the Thunder Path." "Great," mewed Graypaw. "Wet paws for me." Tiger Claw's stare silenced him. "And finally you, Firepaw. What a shame your great mentor couldn't be here today to witness your performance for herself. You shall take the route through the tall pines, past the tree-cut place, to the woods beyond." Firepaw nodded, frantically tracing the route in his head. "And remember," Tiger Claw finished fixing them all with his pale-eyed stare, "I will be watching all of you." Ravenpaw was the first to sprint away towards the Snake Rocks. Tiger Claw took a different track into the woods, leaving Graypaw and Firepaw alone in the hollow, trying to guess who Tiger Claw would follow first. "I don't know why he thinks Snake Rocks is an easy route," mewed Graypaw. "That place is crawling with adders. Birds and mice stay away from there because there's so many snakes." "Ravenpaw will have to spend his whole time trying not to get bitten," Firepaw agreed. "Oh, he'll be okay," sneered Graypaw. Not even an adder would be fast enough to catch Ravenpaw. At the moment, he's so jumpy. I better get going. See you back here later on. Good luck. Graypaw raced off towards the stream, and Firepaw paused to sniff the air, then bounded up the side of the hollow and began to head for the tall pines. It felt strange to be going in this direction, towards the two-leg place he had been raised in. Cautiously, Firepaw crossed the narrow path into the pine forest. He looked through the straight rows of trees, across the flat forest floor, alert for the sight and scent of any prey. A movement caught his eye. It was a mouse, scrabbling through the pine needles. Remembering his first lesson, Firepaw dropped into the stalking position, keeping his weight in his haunches, his paws light on the ground. The technique worked perfectly. The mouse did not detect Firepaw until his final leap. He caught it with one paw, killed it swiftly. Then he buried it, so that he could pick it up on his return journey. Firepaw traveled a little further into the tall pines. The ground here was deeply rutted by the tracks of the huge two-legged monster that tore down trees. Firepaw took a deep breath, his mouth open. The monster's breath had not touched the air for a while. Firepaw followed the deep tracks, jumping across the ruts. They were half filled with rain, which made him feel thirsty. He was tempted to stop and take a few mouthfuls, but he hesitated. One lap of that muddy trench water, and he'd taste the monster's foul-smelling tracks for days. He decided to wait. Perhaps there would be rainwater puddled beyond the tall pines. He hurried onward through the trees and crossed the two-legged path at the far boundary. He was back amid the thick undergrowth of oak woods, and he moved onward until he found a puddle. Lapping up the few mouthfuls of fresh water, his fur began to prickle with some extra awareness. Firepaw recognized sounds and scents familiar from his old watching place on the fence post. He knew instantly where he was. These were the woods that bordered his two-legged place. He must be very close to his old home now. Ahead, Firepaw could smell two legs and hear their voices, loud and raucous like crows. It was a group of young two-legs playing in the woods. Firepaw crouched and peered ahead through the ferns. The sounds were distant enough to be safe. He changed direction, skirting the noises and making sure he was not seen. Firepaw stayed alert and watchful, not just for two legs. Tiger Claw might be somewhere nearby. He thought he heard a twig snap in the bushes behind him and sniffed the air, but nothing smelled new. Was he being watched? He wondered. Out of the corner of his eye, he sensed movement. At first, he thought it was Tiger Claw's dark brown fur, but then he saw a flash of white. Firepaw stopped, crouched, and inhaled deeply. The smell was unfamiliar. It was a cat, but not a ThunderClan cat. Firepaw felt his fur bristle with the instincts of a clan warrior. He would have to chase the intruder out of ThunderClan territory. Firepaw watched the creature moving through the undergrowth. He could see its outline clearly as it skittered between the ferns. He waited for it to wander nearer and crouched lower, his tail waving back and forth in slow rhythm. As the black and white cat neared, Firepaw rocked his haunches from side to side as he prepared to spring. One more heartbeat. Then he leaped. The black and white cat jumped in the air, terrified, and raced away through the trees. Firepaw gave chase. It's a kitty pet, he thought as he raced through the undergrowth, smelling its fierce scent. In my territory! He was closing in rapidly on the fleeing animal. It had slowed its headlong rush, preparing to scramble up the wide, mossy trunk of a fallen tree. With the blood roaring in his ears, Firepaw leaped onto its back in a single bound, and he could feel the cat struggling beneath him as he gripped on with all his claws. It let out a desperate and terrified yowl. Firepaw released his grip, backed away. The black and white cat cringed at the foot of the falling tree, trembling, looked up at him. Firepaw lifted his nose, feeling a ripple of disgust at the intruder's easy surrender. This soft, plump house cat, with its round eyes and his narrow face, looked very different from the lean, broad-headed cats Firepaw lived with now. Something about this cat still seemed familiar, though. Firepaw stared harder. He sniffed, drawing in the other cat's scent. I don't recognize the smell, he thought, searching his memory. Then it came to him. Smudge? He meowed out loud. How do you know my name? Stammered Smudge, still crouching. It's me, Firepaw mewed. The house cat looked confused. We were kittens together. I lived in the garden next to you, Firepaw insisted. Rusty? Mewed Smudge in disbelief. Is that you? Did you find the wildcats again? Or are you living with the new housefolk? You must be if you're still alive. I'm called Firepaw now, Firepaw mewed. He relaxed his shoulders and let his fur fall flat on the sleek orange pelt. Smudge relaxed too, his ears pricked up. Firepaw? He echoed amused. Well, Firepaw, looks like your new housefolk don't feed you enough. You certainly weren't this scrawny last time we met. I don't need 2 legs to feed me, Firepaw replied. I've got a whole forest of food to eat. 2 legs? Housefolk. That's what clans call them. Smudge looked bewildered for a second. Then his expression changed to one of complete astonishment. You mean you're really living with wildcats? Yes, Firepaw paused. You know, you smell different. Unfamiliar. Unfamiliar? Smudge echoed. He sniffed. I suppose you're used to the smell of those wildcats now. Firepaw shook his head as if to clear his mind. But we were kids together. I should know their smell like I know the smell of my birth mother. Then Firepaw remembered. Smudge is past 6 moons. No wonder he looked so soft and fat. It smelled so strange. You've been to the cutter. The vet. Smudge shrugged his plump back shoulders. So? He mewed. Firepaw was speechless. Blue Star was right. Come on, then. What's it like living wild? Smudge demanded. Is it as good as you thought it'd be? Firepaw thought for a moment about last night, sleeping in a damp den. He thought about mouse bile, and clearing away Yellow Fang's dirt, and trying to please both Lionheart and Tiger Claw at once during training. He remembered the teasing he suffered about his kitty pet blood. Then he remembered the thrill of his first catch, charging through the forest in pursuit of a squirrel, and warm evenings beneath the stars, sharing tongues with his friends. I know who I am now, he meowed simply. And we'll end it there. That's a good spot to end it. Whew. So, Firepaw's out in his first training assessment, to see if he's good enough to maybe be a warrior. And he ran into Smudge. And it looks like Smudge has been to the vet, and he's been neutered. Just like Blue Star told Firepaw would happen. She was right. Well, Firepaw has figured out who he is. Do you think he's going to keep being happy? Or do you think he's going to eventually come to regret his decision? Now, I want to talk about something serious. That's really, it means a lot to me. As we in this country have moved and declared we care about life. An egg in a woman is life. But what else is life? You can't tell me these things are alive. Put them under a microscope and you can see them swimming through the future. Each one could have grown, or could have become something great. Could have cured cancer, could have been a great world leader. That one swimmer could have declared world peace. But we will never know. As millions of lives are silenced daily by the tissue or the sock. Some even take great joy cannibalizing eating these babies, these potential babies. Every day these lives are silenced horrifically. Join me and end the genocide as oral sex and male masturbation kills millions upon millions and silences the future babies of this world. Join me and end the genocide. Because this has gone on long enough. It's not rooted, it's not even rooted in ancient history. It's not rooted in our history, masturbation. No. It's useless. It should only be legal for procreation. To create. Ejaculation should only be legal to make a life. Because it is a life creating a life. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I hope you have a good day.